Mayor, I'll keep this live for probably a minute and a half, and then I'll take it off. And then I'll give you like a 30-second warning when we're close to starting it to meeting. Okay, we have about 1 minute.
Somebody has a squeaky chair. Whoever that is, could you? Yeah. I think the old guy with the old chair is who's doing it.
Is that the squeak you like?
It's probably an antique chair.
I've got one little squeak too. We can have a,
Need to get some
I'll
oil
have
on
to
that.
mute the mic.
Needs to get some oil on that thing.
Doesn't bother me, no.
I agree. Either oil or mute the mic.
Ah,
Okay, 15 seconds, Mayor.
okay.
It's 7:15.
Okay, it's 7:15, and good evening, everyone, and welcome to our City Council agenda meeting we have for July 8th. And welcome to all of our homes. And with that, so on our agenda first, we will do our Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, but we're going to do it silent as we have been doing it the past several months. So Jorge will put up the Pledge of Allegiance on the screen and have a moment of silence to read it all to ourselves. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Jorge. So next would be business public, and I think Holly or Allison, I don't believe anybody submitted anything ahead of time.
No, that's
Mayor,
correct.
did you want a roll call, Mayor?
I'm sorry, roll call. Yeah. Bill. Allison.
Wilson,
Here.
Sykes,
Year.
Bessie Johnson. Here. Kellum,
Here.
Alex Johnson,
Here.
Coburn,
Here.
Canopa.
Here. I'm so used to, I did it myself, Bill, by making sure everybody was here before we started. Okay, business from the public. Nobody had submitted anything ahead of time,
That's correct.
correct? Okay, all right. And unless there was something that was not on our agenda, that if somebody needed to speak. Okay. Our next agenda items, number 4, this is approval of the agreement, and this is for the Cumberland Church sale. This is on pages 3 to 16, but I do believe, council, you did receive a held this afternoon for an updated version. So I think Kim is probably going to, she said, walk you through it. Is Kim here? Yep, there
I'm
you are.
here.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. Well, thank you guys. Thank you, council. Thank you, mayor. We wanted to pass along the option agreement that was passed on to you in the packet at the end of last week was our initial draft. But since then, we had received comments back from the Cumberland Community Event Center. And so we wanted those to come in front of you so that way we're both working over the most recent information. And so we have met with Joel and Emma this morning, and Sean, Chris, and I, all of us got together and kind of worked through the areas. So if you're okay, I'd kind of like to go through, and the spots that are marked up, I can tell you if we feel like, yes, this is an amendment that we would like to move along with. If this is a section that is still going to be in discussion by legal, either with Sean and their lawyer, and then some that we are hoping to get your direction on, as sometimes what's customarily in real estate sale might not be what council wants. So we just want to make sure we're all rowing in the same direction. Any questions before I get started?
Questions? No?
All right. So on page 1, there are a couple highlights. Pretty much those were just additions of specific dates. As a team on our side, we are completely okay with these. And so we're interested in moving forward.
This
with
conference will now be recorded.
With the dates as listed. The first one that we talk about is on 6.2. There was some strike through of language, and we are okay with that one. Sean has reviewed, and as long as we proceed with some of the same edits later on, then that would be approved on our end.
So, excuse me, I'm not seeing those. I'm looking at the packet. This is not in our packet?
No.
No.
Actually, Alex, it this afternoon on an email, and the email was sent from Allison, I believe it was.
Yeah, I just read it.
Hey, can you tell me the time that it was sent?
Yeah.
It was sent at 2:29 p.m. So if you look at from Allison Lease, it'd be her email, and then the attachment was on that email.
Okay,
You find it?
meetings. Yeah, I'm looking. I found it.
Okay, Dick, how about you?
Well, I thought I had it earlier, but I can't find it now.
All right, I believe I can resend it. I'm at my work computer. Hold on, let me find it.
Everybody else, Rich, do you see it?
I
Mike?
have a hold of it now.
I do too.
Okay.
Okay.
Although, so
Yeah, if you could send it to me, I'd appreciate it.
All right, it's probably coming at everybody because it's already addressed.
Okay.
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 We wanted to keep it moving. As we know, there's a timeline on this, and that folks are anxious to keep the process moving. So we apologize for the last minute changes, but it's a fluid matter currently. All right, so going back to 6.2, the language that is strike through, we are proceeding with that being removed.
I still don't see it.
I just got it, Dick.
Well, I didn't.
So for the email,
Okay, let me try that again.
Mayor, since we don't have all the information in one place at one time, can we, I know we want to get going, but it's kind of hard to review something when we don't have all the information in front of us.
It certainly is.
so we can delay it for the next meeting. If you
Well,
want.
well, wouldn't that, then they would still have to do it on October 1. I mean, but
Well,
they wouldn't have it ready necessarily. I mean, if we do or do not go along with their changes.
Well, we can delay all of it and get a clean copy of it when it comes, to the next council meeting.
I still haven't gotten it yet.
Mayor, who doesn't have it? Who doesn't have the new version?
Dick doesn't, I don't think, and, but it sounds like if Alex hadn't seen it before, nobody's been able to review it.
Okay,
Bill?
Yes.
Well, I've been in meetings all day, so I haven't seen it. So I'm looking
Do you
at it
have-
now.
Do you have it now, Alex?
too.
I have it now. Yes, I did.
Okay, so and Kim, correct me if I'm wrong. Basically, what you're looking at is the agreement that we had originally sent that was in your packet, and then what you'll see highlighted in red are suggestions by the Cumberland Church, and we were just going to discuss those actual highlighted sections. There's not a lot of
Okay.
them, so we can kind of go
Okay.
through them page by page pretty quick.
I'm looking at it
I'm
now.
assuming,
Yeah.
Dick, you have yours now.
yeah, that finally came.
Okay.
Why would it get the bill, not me?
Hey,
Bill, did you have anything to say? Bill, no? Okay. All right,
all right.
has it in front of him.
I have it now. Yes.
Me too.
All right. All right. Yeah,
All right.
John?
So 7.3, the date that's been suggested we are moving forward with, as well as there's a section modification. We're fine with that as well.
What page
Next
are you
one.
on?
Page 3.
October 1st, 2020.
Yeah,
It's
3.
7.3, Dick, the section 7.3.
Oh, well, there's no numbers on the email thing. What number
On
on
the-
the paragraph?
Yeah, just
Would
scroll
be
down the section.
What paragraph number?
7.3.
7.3.
0.3?
7.3.
7.3.
And it would be for October 1st, 2020. On section 8, this is one that we are asking for direction on, because traditionally the owner would be responsible for the expense of the preliminary title report. And the Cumberland is wanting to know if we want to go what is customary, or if we would prefer to keep it at their expense as the optionee. So we're looking for direction on how you would like to proceed with this.
Well, they're buying it for $1.
Yeah.
I think they should
And,
pay.
No, Counselor Kellum, this agreement, sorry, this is Chris. Hello. This agreement that you're reviewing is for the land purchase. So there are 4 different purchases that have to happen. This is the option for them to purchase the lot to which they will move the church. The council at our last meeting said that you wanted to give them 100 days to exercise the option. This is that option. So this is the $69,000 purchase for the first lot on Pine Street. And 100 days from today would be October 15th. So that's the date by which they have to exercise the option.
Yeah,
And
but we gave it to them 2 weeks ago. It's October 1st.
well, we haven't executed the agreement. So that's another question, I guess. If you want to move the date back to October 1st, we were counting 100 days from today.
Well, we counted 100 days from then.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not, but I understand what she's saying though. We haven't actually agreed on anything. It'll be 100 days from today if we do agree today.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that.
Okay, the
Makes
subject at hand, the cost of the title report. Kim, who did you say normally pays for that?
It's customary that potentially the owner of the property would pay for that title report. And so we're trying to figure out if you would like us as the city to cover that cost, or if you would want Cumberland Community Event Center to cover it.
I think if the owner normally pays for it, then in this case, the city should pay for it.
I would go with that.
I agree on that. So Kim, can we back up to 7.3 on the environmental review? So, so are you saying that they would have to have an environmental assessment on the property by October 1st and pay for?
That's if they choose to do one, yes.
Right.
It's just, okay, it's an option. They don't have to do it. If I can't remember when we took over that property, if it was ever done with the city, if we ever, because that whole area used to be the old log pond area to the old furniture factory. So I can't remember. Usually before we take ownership of property as a city, we get an environmental review. So have to probably look back to see if there is ones on that property. But.
And anything that we find, we'll disclose as part of the information. Okay, to move forward.
Mm-hmm.
So it sounds like on section 8, our direction is to pay the city for the title report.
Yes.
Okay. Moving forward, on 9.3, under costs, this is kind of the same thing as in real estate. The owner will pay for half of the escrow. And so we didn't know if you wanted to follow along with that or if you wanted that to be paid for by the Cumberland Community Event Center.
Can I ask a question?
I would just say follow normal real estate practices. If the owner pays, if the cost is split, then let's split the cost.
Well, that's
Is that
always
normal?
negotiable.
Alex?
Yes. So my question is what is the current estimate for the cost of escrow?
I don't know that information.
Yeah, I can answer that. I mean, the answer, we don't know because we haven't sent anything to the title company yet. Once we get a signed contract and we're prepared to, within 30 days of closing, we send that to the title company and they'll prepare everything and give us a policy. But on a $69,000 purchase price, the title insurance policy, or what we call an owner's policy, it's going to be in the hundreds of dollars, not the thousands. It's not going to be a substantial amount of money anyway. So
I think I agree with Councilor Coburn.
Okay.
Okay.
The direction moving forward is we'll split the cost on the escrow. Okay. The next section is section 11.1, access. There are two sentences crossed through, and based on our conversations, we are okay with removing both of them.
Yep.
Okay.
Section 13.1 under warranties was added. And this currently is what is having additional conversation between Sean and their legal counsel.
And both parties are okay with it?
No. Not yet. I haven't spoke to the legal counsel for the Cumberland Church yet. And I can tell you my concerns on it real quick, and then we can hash it out with the church. But
Please.
The new section that they've added creates some obligations for the city and potential liability on the city in the event of a breach by the city. But there's not what lawyers call a mutuality of remedies in this contract, because the city's only remedy in this contract is to retain the earnest money that's put down for the option, and that's $1. So basically, there are no remedies in the event that the church walks away from this deal, which is okay. But if the city walks away from the deal, they're putting a lot of potential damages claims in there, and I just don't think that was something that was fair. So I objected to that, and I will be talking to their attorney about it.
So Sean, I'm sorry, Sean, what do you propose then, in language, if the city walks away? I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Or should we just wait until you talk to their attorney?
Well, I mean, the language I would propose is what we normally had. They added this 13.1 in here.
Yeah.
So I would just not have had it in there at all, and I
Okay.
didn't. I think that there's some language below this that I think covers in them in the event we were to walk away, they would still have some remedies in place. One is that they get their money back, which is understandable, because that's what we would get. But and when we issue, what's that?
We'd get the church back.
Well, no, this is
Really?
just a lot. And so, but when we issue a deed to the property, we're going to issue a general warranty deed or a special warranty deed, and they'll have covenants of title in that deed that say we warrant the title up to that property, that we have good title to the property and we'll defend against it and all this kind of stuff. So there's going to be some warranties that they get just by us signing the deed anyway that will protect them. Basically, I think their concern is if we were aware of, because we have language that says we're to the best of our knowledge that we're not aware of any environmental problems with that property, and that they're advised if they want to get an environmental study on that property. I think the concern this morning when we talked to them was, well, what if we find out later? And I don't think they meant this in a bad way, but as an example, what would happen if later after closing there was an environmental problem and it turned out the city did know about it, but they didn't disclose it. So, and that doesn't mean that they don't have a right to come after the city for those damages if they incurred any. But at the end of the day, I just don't feel comfortable giving them a bunch of remedies when the city has none in the event of a breach.
I agree with that. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, Rich?
Yeah, well, I would concur. It seems to be a one-way deal in that regard. But let's also understand that this is the property that they, quote, have to use, unquote, according to them. And it's not like we sought them out to sell it. They're asking us to sell it to them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we can have it sit there for the next 200 years.
Sure.
If there is some issue with it. So, no, I don't see us being irresponsible in saying, no, we don't know of anything right now and we'll tell you, but we're not going to put our neck on a chopping block so that, you can have the outcome you want if there is something we don't know about.
Agree.
Mm-hmm.
So Sean will continue to work with them on refining what that language looks like.
Yeah,
Or
nothing.
lack of language or modified language. All right, moving on.
Okay.
To section 13.18. Access and site conditions. We double checked with planning, and Pine Street was actually dedicated as a right-of-way back in 1910 that we have documentation for. It is zoned Main Street in the comp plan, so there's no pending map amendments. So that shouldn't be an issue. Any questions? So then moving to section 17, it's just updating some of the contact information as to who copies should go to. In section 21, just updating a typo, so it should say section 18 instead of section 19. And then
Where's that one? I don't see that one yet change.
Just a little.
Kim, did it?
it's a little, it should probably just be a little blip. Section 21, it says except as otherwise provided
Okay.
in section 19, it should say 18.
Looks
Yes.
like
Okay.
1918. They've crossed out 19.
Yeah, really.
And then that is all we have on this agreement or on this option. And so as Chris mentioned earlier, this is actually a 4-part process. So this is part 1 in front of you right now. So if we get your approval to move forward, then the 100-day clock will start today. And then Chris is working with Sean right now on what the lease looks like for use of the building and coming up with that fee for them being able to use it in the meantime. And then once the option is exercised, once the lease is in play, we'll start working on a memorandum of understanding for the $1 sale and for the use of the 3 lots as they'll need to have that in hand within the next 100 days in order to be able to move forward in the process. But then we'll actually come back after that time to talk about what the actual purchase document looks like for the sale of the church for $1, as well as the lease to own option for the 3 lots. But we're trying not to put the cart in front of the horse. So this is part 1, and then the lease will be coming next.
Okay, Bessie?
Yeah, so Kim, is this, what we're talking about is 520 Pine Street, right?
Correct.
It's a 0.24 acre.
Yes.
Okay, now, because I was doing a little research on the 4 lots, and there isn't we haven't decided on a selling price yet, have we?
I believe at our last meeting, we brought back options, and we're moving forward with giving them what the tax assessed value is divided by 4. So that's how we got the 69,000 for this one parcel.
Yeah, and so that's the assessed value, but the real estate value is higher than that, right?
Correct.
Okay, so just a thought for right now. Thank you.
So council, there's another option too that I kind of wanted to ask, and that would be to allow an extra month for the Cumberland Event Center. So I've been helping them out on what kind of fundraising to do, and it is very challenging with COVID right now. So we did have quite a nice event that was going to be planned in July and pushed it off to September. And it was a nice outdoor event that could, hold, several hundred people, but we knew we had to scale it way back. And now we're just thinking, don't even want to take the chance because of the situation that we're in. So that event has been sort of delayed and pushed back. So there's going to be another sort of fundraising event to be able to, get the funds, to finish off some of the fundraising. So it's a little challenging right now because of the situation we're in, and they could really use an extra month of time because now the whole fundraising that was planned has been shifted gears. So, so if you could, consider maybe making it as maybe mid-November, so it would make it a big help for them. So, Red?
I would object most strenuously to this. Quite frankly, we have had one kick it down the road after another for years. And I think what this is let's get past the election. Maybe there'll be a different group of people that we can then come and get some subsidy. I mean, this should have been done a year and a half ago. And the fact that it isn't, now we gave them 100 days from last meeting. And that was Alex giving a little and taking a little, and some of the rest of us giving a little and taking a little. Now, oh no, now it's 100 days from today. And now you want another month on top of that. I mean, if they don't want to do this, I know there is an organization that wants to tear that down and recycle the wood. They have been here in town. They do it. Some of us have actually done business with them. I mean, this is all just push it down the road and see if we can maybe steal some money from the taxpayer. I don't go along with it. And beyond that, I guess, how are you going to get it across the railroad tracks? It won't fit underneath the signals. And do you think that the railroad is going to say, oh, gee, let's take our signals down?
I don't,
You know how well
There is no
that
overhead.
works.
I
no,
don't think there is any,
The crossbars, the kind that go
It's
down.
not crossbars. It's not crossbars. You look at the top where the lights are.
Mhm.
It goes up on each side and it goes out over the top of and that is a solid structure. That's not movable.
Right. So, I mean, there has been the estimates and bids done from one of the biggest companies in Portland that came down and said that it can be done and gave an estimate of what it would cost too. So it's very doable.
About
I would go just
68,000,
the
as I
opposite
recall.
direction and go back to when we gave them the 100 days. It's 100 days from last meeting.
Thanks, Sharon.
So, Mike, you're next. What do you?
I've just got a question for you, Mayor. Are you representing the city on
Oh,
this?
turn your
Are you
mic.
It's my mic's on.
yeah, it's on.
Can you hear me? I'm just wondering, Mayor,
Mic
if you're
on.
huh?
Mike, turn the mic on.
It's on.
Yeah,
It
his
is
is on.
There.
Who can't hear me?
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Okay, now we can hear you.
My question is,
Now we can. Yep.
well, that doesn't make any sense. My question is, Mayor, are you representing the city on this transaction, or are you representing the group that's doing the Cumberland Church move? Because it sounds like there's a conflict of interest in my mind there.
Well, it's not a conflict of interest. Not any order. And I'm just floating the idea out there. You guys are the ones that decide, and just seeing if you'd be able to even consider being able to help out. Our whole goal is the community. Many people in the community came forward and have donated money, wanting to move the church. We just got stuck up in this COVID thing where everything, this Blue Moon, has been shut down. So it's very difficult to raise money. But when we formed that task force, several years ago, I made that commitment to be able to do what I can to help out the church moved. So I don't back on my commitments. Dick?
Yeah, as far as who I represent my constituents, not the city.
Oh,
Okay, Dick.
oh.
So, but it's up to the council. What do you want to do?
So I propose the 100 days. And what I'm hearing right now is the 100-day clock starts today, correct?
I second that.
That is what is outlined in the proposed agreement.
And so I was under the impression when we proposed 100 days is from last meeting. And so who else didn't understand that?
Well, that's the way I heard it.
Me too.
That's the way I heard it.
So my clock started 2 weeks ago at 100 days. And that's what I proposed. And I'm gonna stick to that.
Well, we can definitely modify the dates and, send it back to them. That's not a big deal.
I've been on council since January of 2019, and we've been talking about this church since then and before then. I don't know how many conversations before then, but we're selling the church for $1, working out the land issues right now. So why further delay it when they both want what we want, is the church to transfer to them? Additional 30 days doesn't make any sense to me. And I apologize if people don't agree with that, but they had 100 days and let's stick to that and move forward.
So council, I mean, like say it has been, you know, you've been hearing about it for a year and a half, Alex. So why not? Why is the big rush? Why can't we try
There's
to
no
help
rush.
work with the organization and feel very gracious to them in wanting to this effort, getting out fundraising to be able to save one of Albany's only 3 wooden, you know, historic churches. It's historic preservation. That's our community character. We should be doing all we can to be able to try to help assist them in being able to move towards this effort. So it's not need to, you know, to push it back a while and be able to have a little bit more time. Dick?
Yeah, my recollection is that we were talking about preserving the church, and we were talking about moving it down to the property across the street from the Calapooya Brewery. And it turned out that wasn't very cost effective. And somebody came up with the idea of moving it to property the city already owned, which is the old log pond for Veal Chair Factory. That's been filled in and now has hopefully solidified enough. And then as things progress, they were going to pay for the cost of moving. Well, now we're saying, well, you really ought to buy that land from us before you move it.
Well,
And
yeah.
it seems like we continually throw out the red herrings. And I know some of you are dead set that this ought to fail, but I think that would be a real shame. And so I think we ought to give them till November. If it wasn't for the COVID virus, I think things would have moved considerably faster. In fact, if it wasn't for the COVID virus, we'd probably have people sitting in our council chamber and commenting on the situation. But as it is, here we are at our, well, I guess it's not really a totally private meeting. I guess the public is hearing what we're doing, but I don't see that they have the capability of commenting on it. Or do they?
They did.
Right. I mean, we could, the council can ask for public comments and from the, look to see if there's anybody here from the Cumberland that wanted to speak over agreement.
Joel Orton is on.
Joel, did you want to?
Yes,
about
hi there. I didn't expect to be able to speak, but I'd love to.
Okay, yeah, go ahead, Joel, and then.
You know, I think that we've been working well with the staff and the revisions that we have made. I think I've heard your comments tonight, and I think we've come up with an agreement that we're 99% in agreement with. And I think with Sean speaking with our attorney tomorrow, I think we can get this last piece about the remedies resolved. I would ask though, I was a bit surprised to hear that the clock of 100 days started at the last meeting where we presented. I expected it to occur when we signed the agreement. As we had revised the document, we had it effective tonight, even though we've not signed the agreement. So we're doing everything we can to arrive at a mutually satisfactory agreement. And Rich, I know that you had made the comment about the challenge of getting across the railroad tracks. I don't think that's pertinent to the purchase of the property that we're discussing tonight. However, we have discussed that issue with the moving company. We know we've got to work with the railroad to address one of the two overhead signals, but that can be done. So we've done our homework. I feel that we're in a good position to move forward with this project.
Okay, all right, Rich.
Well, I go back to the original. I think 5 of us that recognize the 100 days started when we voted on it. Now, do we have to have a motion? Because we can do that.
Well, do you want to make a motion then over approval of the agreement? You have agreement in front of you.
We didn't make this
Mayor?
agreement.
Uh-huh.
I wanted to just clarify a couple things. So the way this, just so everybody is on the same page, the way this contract's written, the term of the contract, and we've been saying throwing on the October 1, but it's not October 1st, it's October 15th. If you look, if we go back to the beginning of the agreement, it's so under section 2.1, it's October 15th and not October 1st. October 1st is when they have to have their environmental studies in.
Right.
Second thing is that the way it's written now, they have to exercise their option within that time frame. That doesn't mean it's going to close before by October 15th. And customarily, it's a 30-day closing. They probably won't close on this until, if they wait until the last minute to exercise their option, then they probably won't close till the middle of November. And that's the way it's already written. So I'm not sure that we would need to change that.
There's some feedback going on.
I hear it.
There you go. Rick?
I didn't hear the last of what Sean had to say there.
Right. Somebody's mic, I think, is on. For him, or can you? Mike's giving a feedback.
Is it my squeaky chair?
I'm trying to find who the person is. I'm looking at the list right now, and up to the title, it's just talking.
I mean, my mic is on. I was talking, so maybe I don't know if it's me or not.
You have another device going?
I don't.
Okay. Alex turned his one device off. I think it was Alex's. We're good to go.
So what I was,
It was mine.
okay. So what I was just saying is that the option to do this would expire on or before October 15th. If they exercise their option the last day of the option, which we consider the term of this property would potentially wouldn't close until sometime in mid-November anyway.
Got that. I mean, the point.
So I don't know about it. I don't know if we need to extend it or not. That's where I was going with this. If they're going to have till probably, or if they time it the way they want to, they could probably get till mid-November before it actually closes. What it does do is that it obligates them to buy the property at that point. So once they exercise their option, then they're contractually obligated to buy it, and right now they're not.
That's what I think we understand. It is
Right.
Obligates them, and they have been unwilling to obligate themselves from right along, for whatever reason. Doesn't make any difference. What we wanted, or at least maybe I shouldn't say that. What I wanted when I said 100 days, and I agreed with Alex, is I want them to either obligate themselves or back the heck out, one or the other. And I wanted it to be 90 days. I agreed with Alex that it would be 100, and it would be 100 days from that day. Now, they're still unwilling to obligate themselves. It's not like nothing can happen. They're simply unwilling to obligate themselves. And until that happens, there's nothing that's on paper, nothing that makes them do it. And we just sit here with this white elephant for another however many long.
Two other things I would like to bring for your consideration, and one's not for your consideration, just for information. Once they exercise the option, we will schedule a public hearing. Because if you remember, under the ORS, we're required to conduct a public hearing when we sell property. So we'll have to conduct a public hearing at that time for the sale of the property. The other thing that I would ask council to consider is if they do exercise the option, that when we do that we have them sign an option agreement where the city has the option to purchase that property back from the church within a certain amount of time, and it can be whatever council deems necessary in the event that they do not follow through with moving the church. And that, because what'll happen is if they own that piece of property, but then they don't follow through with moving the church, then those other 3 lots are going to be compromised for future development. If the city has an option to buy that property back, say if they say, well, we don't have the money to move the church and we're not going to do it, then the city then could move in at their option and say, well, we want to repurchase the property back for the price we paid for it. So,
And I agree with that. That's, to me, I mean, it is our city property that yeah, Betsy.
okay, well, I'll make sure we have something in place before that then, that we can do that. So.
Okay, so all of this is pretty confusing with all the changes that we're just seeing tonight. Now, Sean just brought up one of my points is, okay, they're going to tie up lot 420, or excuse me, 201, and the other 3 lots are basically going to be in limbo forever. And so something just isn't right with this whole thing. For one thing, I do not agree with the $69,000 purchase price, because I don't think even if they don't have the money right now to do it. So that's gonna prolong everything. And so I'm not sure. I mean, it just doesn't feel right to me for some reason. Thank you.
Can I respond to one thing? This is Chris, Counselor Johnson. The other 3 lots. So one of the 4, let's assume that we move forward with this current plan. One of the 4 actions that needs to happen is a future lease for those 3 other parcels that, as I think I described it maybe last time, would have a lease for a certain period of time, at which point they would purchase those lots from the city. They're going to need those 3 other parcels to make their design for the property come to life. And so those lots would not necessarily be in limbo. They would be for their use as they remodel and add on to the building and then make a parking lot, etc. So that would be another revenue source coming in, and those 3 lots we would hopefully not exactly in this situation, but we would have to then sell those lots to them at some time. And I want to apologize for the way this document is coming to you at the last minute. We struggled with that as a staff, trying to work with them and get their edits and our edits in on the document and keep it moving as quickly as we can. And I think if we were meeting normally, it would be a little bit easier, but I apologize. We're just really trying to keep it going. That message was pretty clear.
And
Okay.
if I can piggyback off of that, Chris, on those other 3 lots, Counselor Johnson, what you were for your concerns, I think I would suggest doing is entering into a lease that was a month lease. That way it doesn't tie the properties up. A month-to-month lease requires, a 30-day notice to terminate the lease in the event that things aren't working out. We could give the church what I would call a right of first option to purchase the properties. A little different than right of first refusal. The right of first refusal really restricts the seller from selling their property. Right of first option basically says, we're going to sell the property. Church, we're giving you the first right to make an offer to buy it, and we'll entertain that offer. Doesn't mean we have to accept it. We're just going to give them that opportunity. So that's what we could do, something like that when that time
Thank
comes.
you, Sean. Yeah, thanks. That helps.
Bill.
So I kind of agree with Rich. They've had plenty of time to raise money, and Sharon, I agree that it's a tough time to try and hold a fundraiser, but assuming they're having a fundraiser, they know who they're going to invite. They know who in this town might have money that would be interested in contributing to this. And I think that under the circumstances, they can reach out to them and say, all right, here's what we've got. We've got an agreement. We'd appreciate the contribution now so that we can go through with this. I drove by the other day and they've got a new thermometer up and it's up to $60,000. So I don't think it's going to be that tough to get another $9,000 and go ahead and buy it.
Right. And the part that has been challenged to raise money is because there's never been a solid agreement of where the church is moved to and the commitment from the city on. Now all of a sudden there's some other changes coming forward, wanting to do some other changes I'm seeing with the agreement. Then now I would imagine the Cumberland board is probably thinking we need to run this by our board, but it makes it hard when they don't have clear direction agreement instead of trying to fundraise. That's what's been difficult. So, and for anybody who think that, oh, they should have raised all the money by now, there's never been a solid agreement to raise money with. But, and I guess one thing that just, you know, bothers me too is I really feel we should be very grateful to the citizens in our community that are really, they're passionate about a historic preservation and taking on this project in their time to be able to get this as a community center for our community. We need to be very grateful for these folks and really encourage them, you know, commend them for, you know, proceeding and trying to get this project that benefits our community and that neighborhood too. So, Bill?
I guess, Sharon, I would have to agree with you that, you know, they haven't had a clear-cut agreement. They came to us in August and made a presentation to council showing us the timeline that they had, that, you know, they would raise the money, they'd buy the land, you know, raise money to move the church, raise money to remodel it and so forth and so on. But they said, we really can't do this without a commitment on the land. What we're looking at tonight is a commitment on the land. They don't have any more excuses for delaying. They should have been and could have been, and have been raising money. Their thermometer's up to 60 grand. So,
right. But I mean,
think that it's time.
They don't have the commitment, solid commitment yet. And that's where it's like, you have that goal, you want to keep raising the money. And plus they wanted to raise the money for getting the church moved. But that is what's been very cumbersome for them without that commitment. So, I mean, this is a great step, but now it's all of a sudden putting a crunch of a timeline on them, you know, where it should, you know, I mean, there's no rush to it. And I think we should be more considerate of their efforts for fundraising during these economic times.
I guess I disagree with you, Sharon, because their own timeline that they presented to us was that they wanted to buy the land this year, and then they were going to take 2021 to raise money to move the church, and they're going to move the church in 2022. This is right on track with what they've wanted to do. We can agree, and I'll make a motion that we accept this agreement upon agreement between both parties, and we'll move this thing forward.
What date? What date, Bill? I would second it if it's the first of October.
Yes, that would be my intent.
Then I second it.
All right, so and it's motion and second, so I guess we can discuss it. There's absolutely no question in my mind whatsoever, and I wish we were in council chambers and everybody could see me because so much of communication is visual, not verbal. So read my lips and look at my face. They absolutely knew what the intent was 2 weeks ago. And if they're serious about this, they would have been out fundraising the next day and saying, hey, we've got an agreement coming. We're going to buy this land. And I don't see any reason to delay it. We want to move it forward, Sharon, just like they want to move it forward. Why would we delay it?
Well, because the fund, well, to me, in my opinion, because the fundraiser was the big fundraiser, that there's just no way could we proceed with that as an outdoor event. So now we're shifting gears with another fundraiser. But I commend the folks. They've been working coming up with fundraising.
Tell you what, Sharon, I'll throw out a name, and I have absolutely no idea how he feels about this project. I don't know if he's involved in the project. I don't want to imply that he's involved in it. I don't want to encourage him. I'm just using it as an example. If this group knew that Buzz Wheeler was interested in this project, you can bet they would have been talking to him. They're not waiting for some agreement that passes tonight. Now, there's other people in this town beside Buzz that are very generous within our community, and I think that this group's been out talking to him. Why in the world would you wait for some agreement like this and then say, okay, now we can go fundraise? They haven't. They've got 60 grand already, according to their thermometer.
But they don't have a solid written agreement on it.
Doesn't make any difference.
That's where we're at right now, having that agreement to show people.
Counselor Kellum and I and Mike Sykes agreed on a $1 sale to the church. If that's not an agreement, I don't know what is.
Right, so this is their first step. They finally are achieving this part. So that's what I'm saying.
So
2 years ago.
Yeah.
So what's our best next step, Sean? City attorney.
Your best next step?
Yes.
I'm not sure. Not quite sure I understand what you mean.
From a legal perspective, what's our best next step?
Well, the next step would be to agree to this contract tonight, or how you see it, which is you're saying that you want, if I'm hearing you correctly, we would change the 15th to the 1st in section 2.1, and then the clock would start tonight and go through the 1st, and then I would talk to their attorney, iron out anything to do with remedies, and that wouldn't slow down, that wouldn't stop the clock would still be ticking, but they would have an agreement to work off of at that point.
So is October 15th 100 days from now?
I don't know. I'm not sure where that date came from, to be honest with you. Kim, is that 100 days from the 8th?
October 15th is 100 days from today.
There you go. Okay.
So
Mike, Rich?
now, go back to what we agreed to before. I mean, we agreed to it. They've been able to raise money all the time. That's a red herring. They've been raising money. They just haven't been trying very hard. I mean, if you have those people,
how do you
what they tell you, how much they got? I don't know. I've raised money before, Sharon.
Telephone.
$700,000 in 3.5 months. I mean,
have you raised money when you don't have complete blessing from a city council and in an agreement?
They've been raising money without, quote, no blessing, unquote.
So Councilor Kellum, Councilor Sykes, Bessie, Councilor Johnson,
Yes.
100 days is still before the election concerns of my counterparts. It'll be October 15th. It's still 3 weeks before the election.
No,
I want
October
this church
1st, and that was the motion on the table is October 1st. That's the motion on the table that's been made by Councilor Coburn and seconded by Councilor Keller.
Okay, I agree with you.
You can always amend
That's the motion.
It's Bessie's turn.
Bessie to speak.
Please
Yeah.
appoint turn.
Sean, let me ask you, okay, so if we go ahead and go through with this, if there's enough votes, okay, so that basically gives the option for them to buy the land. But then we don't have an agreement to lease the other properties, so they're kind of, you don't need to, I mean, that's my question.
With the lease, I'm sorry, to lease, are you talking about Bessie leasing the church or leasing the other 3 lots?
Well, the other 3 lots, I mean, shouldn't everything be kind of done at one time?
So here's my concern with doing everything at one time.
Okay.
Leasing the lots, if we enter into a lease agreement for the lots right now, I'm assuming the councils want to get market value for them, and I don't see that they have. And Joel might want to, pipe in on this, but I don't know that they have the money to pay market value for those 3 lots right now, and that's gonna, impact them. I think the council's given direction and expressed a desire and basically a commitment to enter into some kind of an agreement with them to let them utilize those 3 lots during construction and potentially for parking. The other thing is I don't want to have a document, and I spoke to the Cumberland Church about this today. I don't want to sell this church, the building itself, until literally the day they're going to move. And the reason behind that is if we sell the church to them tonight for $1, then if something were to happen and this deal doesn't go through, now we want to move that church or we want to demolish it, we will have to go through a legal process in order to tear that church down because it doesn't belong to us anymore.
Very good. That answers one of my questions.
Okay.
And then the other part was the lease with the option to buy and stuff, can we do, shouldn't that all be done at one time? Because if they're gonna, utilize, they might not move the church for a year or something, but it does tie up to properties. So
that's the problem. If we enter into a lease tonight or during this 100 days for them to lease those other 3 lots, then and again, it could be a month to month, but are they going to start paying for it now? When, and that would have to be when, that is, when are they going to start making payments on those 3 lots? So, and what that price would be. So
I think it's too complicated. I don't think it's going to work. Thank you.
Bill?
I call for the question on the motion.
I second that.
Second.
All right, looks like everyone wants to move forward without voting on call for the question. So the motion is to accept this agreement and still October 1st.
Yes.
Okay, all right, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign.
No.
Okay, there's 1 no, motion carried. All right, staff have enough direction.
Thank you.
I think we do. Yeah.
All
We do.
right,
Thank you.
thank you. Okay, next item is award of contract.
Yeah, Mayor, if I could interrupt real quick.
Yep.
When we were talking about business from the public, you stated that we hadn't received anything, but actually we did receive an email, or Mary received an email this afternoon from Carrie Richter that I copied the council and you on as well. I just wanted to put that in the record that we did receive 1 comment for business from the public tonight from Carrie Richter, and I just want to make sure all the council got that email.
Yeah, I didn't know that she wanted that from business from the public, so.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure we put on the record that that you received it. That was all. So.
Okay.
All right, you don't think that we needed to read it?
No.
Okay. All right, and did everybody receive it?
Yes.
I got something from Sean, yes.
Okay, all right. Okay, next item is a award of a contract, and this is for the sole source procurement of utility billing. I saw Patty was online. Is it Patty or Chris? Can I take this one on? Which staff?
Mayor, we have Patty and also Sean Park, IT project manager that was
Sean
working.
Park. Okay. All right.
Good evening, everybody. Hear me okay?
Yes.
Sean.
We
Good
don't
evening.
see you. You can turn video on.
Video is on.
It's coming through.
Camera on.
Nope, I don't see it.
Where are we supposed to see it?
There he
On
is.
our
Now,
computer screen?
okay.
There's Sean.
Are we supposed to see this as an email or what?
No,
We have a council memo and resolution.
Dick, we're on item
in the
number
packet.
5, contract.
So it's what we have in our agenda, correct?
Yes.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the
Starting
reason,
on what page?
On page 17.
17.
Okay.
Go ahead, Sean. Thank you.
Good evening, councilors. I was feeling ethereal there for a minute. If you see my video, that makes me happy. The reason this is before you this evening is due to the fact that this contract over the course of its life is greater than 150,000, requiring council approval. And I'm happy to answer any questions, provide more background, or anything, cover anything that wasn't happened to be in the memo or in the resolution itself.
Okay, questions, Rich, and then Bessie?
Yeah, I guess my question is, when we checked out the other system and that is cheaper, did we go through a process where we looked at numbers of people, or did we just see that somebody else had gone through this and we just picked theirs up, and so we only looked at what we have now and what this is to make a comparison? Or were there a number of others we also made a comparison with?
Rich, you need to kind of talk straight into your computer. We can't.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know where my microphone is.
Councilor Callum, I
It's
think
embedded in
I
something.
understood your question. Can you clarify for me, Councilor Callum, what you meant by
Okay, you went out, you found a cheaper thing, a cheaper system to use.
Can you clarify system in regard to which system we're talking about?
The billing.
Yes. We found a cheaper system, but more importantly, we found a system that was compatible with our Munis system for financial, human resources, payroll, and utility billing too. So
the question is, did we look at more than one, or did we just find one that happened to be cheaper?
we had a formal RFP process for the selection of that vendor.
Okay, great, thank you. That's all I needed.
Sure.
Hey, Bessie.
Yeah, I was just wondering, how long would it, I mean, this is a great service. I mean, it makes it easy for everyone, but how long will it take the new part to be implemented?
Our goal is to have both the e-payments along with the IVR, the integrated voice response system, tested fully in the fourth quarter of this year, and we're going live in January of 2020 or 2021.
Great. Oh, all right, thanks.
Okay, other questions? All right, council, there's a resolution on page 9.
Move to approve.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, there's two people did, two did a motion, 2 did a second, so take your pick, Allison. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carried. All right, next is adoption. Oh, thank you, John. Next is adoption of the consent calendar. It's a small one this evening. If there's any items that need to be pulled off, then I'll entertain a motion.
I would move to adopt.
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carried. All right, next page, staff reports, and we have Public Services Annual Report. It's the first item, and I was very pleased and such a gracious offer of donating these services for our pickup downtown. So do we have somebody here? Julie, I see Julie.
I'm here.
Julie.
I
think that is so nice of you guys to be able to help out in our struggling time ELT funds, and where we still have, you know, garbage being put into receptacles, and still have that cost to incur. But thank you so much for the donation. So,
yeah, you're very welcome.
Okay.
I don't know if you have questions about the annual report. I assume you don't want to go through the whole thing, but I certainly wanted to point out a couple of things, if that's okay.
Yeah.
One of the things I just want to mention is how fortunate we feel to be able to partner with cities like Albany, because when this whole COVID thing started, we immediately went to the cities and we had come up with a plan. And I don't know if all of you are aware, but we had a plan of a progression. if we had lots of drivers getting sick, if we weren't able to make all the routes. And we worked with Peter very closely on that. And the city was really great to work with. Thankfully, that didn't happen. But during the course of this virus, we're still working out how this is going to work long term. One of the things to make the city aware of is that we're seeing about 30 to 50% more trash by weight in our residential routes than ever before. And just depending on the day, 30 to 50% more. So what we know is people are not throwing away trash at work, they're throwing it away at home. And college students are home. More people are living within households. So we're seeing a lot more waste. And one of the things that we've been able to do really well is what we call manage the middle. And by that, I mean, we've been able to react quickly with rerouting, taking people off commercial routes, which aren't down as much as you would think they might be, but we've had to move people from commercial routes to residential and try to make that as efficient as possible. And I think our operations team has done a great job with that. So I just want to point that out. And then the other thing I'm super proud of is that we knew that we were sending our employees to work on the front line every day. And we were asking them to go out and pick up waste and be out there every single day. And so one of the things our company did was they decided that for about the first 2 months of this process, we provided 1 meal at work for every employee and 1 meal to take home for their family every week. And so that amounted to about $20,000 that we spent only at local businesses, small restaurants and caterers in the Albany area. The second thing that we did as a corporation was our company gave each frontline employee a $100 gift card every week for 4 weeks. And with that, they were strongly encouraged to spend it at a local business. So we have been trying really hard to be a part of the solution in the local area. And I just want to point that out because I'm really proud of it. So I am certainly open to answer any other questions you might have. And as I said, we're happy to help with the downtown street cans as well.
Yep. That's great, Julie. So that's just wonderful. It is amazing to think that there's that much of an increase in the waste collection.
Yeah.
When the businesses were shut down, a lot of the restaurants shut down and places that it increased that much. That's a huge increase. You'd think it would be more flat even with the amount of businesses shut down. So is that the same? Were other communities experiencing this volume that Republic was?
It is the same. And one of the things that that we're seeing also is at the landfill, we're seeing crazy numbers of self-haulers coming into the landfill because so many people are taking this time to make home repairs and clean out and do all of those kinds of things. So that's into it a little bit as well. In the annual report, you might see that the yard debris totals are about flat year over year. If I'm not here telling you that we had a huge increase in yard debris for 2020, something will be wrong because we are seeing amazing amounts. Yards are going to be beautiful in this area if the amount of yard debris we're getting is any indication.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, that's wonderful. Bessie, Alex.
Oh, for one thing, I too want to thank you, Julie. That was a very generous offer and gift to the city. I think it kind of caught us all by surprise that the ADA was, paying for that, and it should have been probably a city cost. But one thing on a side note, I have to ask you because I've had people ask me: is the landfill ever going to be open on Sunday again? Because they said that the weekend's the only time they can go, and so they'd really like to have it open on Sunday. But I mean, it's just a question that I've been told to ask.
Sure.
Thank you.
It isn't in the plan right now, but I'm not going to say never. There are lots of things in the works, and I would never say never. So I will pass that question along as well, Bessie.
Oh, I appreciate that a lot. Yeah, now I can tell them that and they can leave me alone. Thank you.
Good luck with that.
Alex?
So Julie, thank you so much for the contribution by public service to our community. I don't want you guys to work on Sunday. I hate working on Sunday. So I'm sorry, Bessie, but I don't want to work on Sunday. But I do know every Tuesday morning, my trash will be picked up, my recycling will be picked up, my oil and glass will be picked up. And the drivers, the people that come out and service my neighborhood have been waving and saying hi to us. And I do appreciate the hard work that they do for the community. And I thank them for that. Let them know that.
Amen to that.
Thank you.
I think it's Patty. There's no name up, but I'm pretty sure Patty wants to say.
Thank you so
Yep.
much. So thank you so much for allowing me to speak. I do have to say we work with Republic Services a lot. We share drop boxes, and they have been amazing. I do have to say we have started. Unfortunately, we have started shutoffs again, and the citizens that were on the shutoff list, they should have been shut off. They received letters, and we are getting a lot of calls, and we are doing we're doing payment programs with people, whether they should have them or not. We're doing them. We're just doing them. Just know that we are doing everything that we can to help these people, and we're being completely flexible. So I know you all get calls from these citizens because we're utility billing, but it literally, we are doing everything we can. People that are not eligible for contracts, for payment plans, are getting them. They're giving them to everyone. So just know we are doing everything we can to help these people through this time, because we know this is a hard time.
Oh,
So
good.
I would mention just really quickly to that. We also are working with people on a daily basis, and anyone who calls and sets up a payment plan and tries to make payment, we're working with them. I will tell you that it takes about 60 to 90 days for us to shut off service. So many of the people who jumped on this and were saying they couldn't pay because of COVID had been getting letters since they had to be behind since the end of December when it started. So we are working with anyone who gives us a call. A lot of people don't call. A lot of people just ignore it, and I get that 100%, but we can only work with people who give us a call. But we are trying to work too.
Oh, good.
I fully agree with that. If they don't call us, we don't know they need help.
Yeah. And I don't know, people are embarrassed and they're proud, and we understand that, but we're trying to help any way we can.
1000%.
Thank you, Julie, and thank you, Patty. So any questions of Julie? Oh, no.
Introduce someone real quickly.
Yep, you sure can.
Tino Barreras, if you'll turn on your camera. Tino is our new recycling outreach coordinator, and he started in December, and we at the end of December, we promptly got sent home. So he's like a brand new face. But some of you may know Tino from the Boys and Girls Club. He's been in the community, and he's been doing great work to get information out online. He's putting together some videos. And so we are still trying to get information out there, and you will see him in the future.
I used to referee football games.
Welcome. What a time to come on.
Yeah. I'm
I
thankful.
used to football games.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you,
Julie, so much for, everything. We are in
Great
some,
job, Tina.
strange times this year, and it's been a challenge, but everybody working together is what's making a great community. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks again.
Okay. All right. Is that it? Okay. And then the next item is historic review, Signer decision. And Sean, are you taking the lead on that one?
Ms. Mayor, this is Laura LaRock, City Planner. I think I will kick it off and then turn it over to Sean.
Trying to find you on the screen. There you are. Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for having me tonight. So today I'm going to be presenting the memo that starts on page 53 of the agenda packet. So as is described in the memo, the purpose of me being here tonight is just to recap that on June 24th, there was an appeal that was heard by City Council for case file HI 0420 for new construction of some development on a lot in a Monteith district. The decision of the City Council ultimately varied a bit from staff. So tonight, what you have before you, starting on page 54 of the agenda packet, is findings that would support Council's decision where they differed from staff's findings in the staff report. So that is my presentation in its entirety. So feel free to ask questions or clarifications of myself or Sean or Planning Manager David Martinell.
Okay, questions?
I have a question.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes, if we accept these findings, can they start slapping in forms and pouring concrete at 8 o'clock in the morning, or is there a period of time when the public can consider our decision on this?
So the notice of decision would likely be posted tomorrow. From there, there's a 21-day appeal period that people that participated in the decision-making process would have that time available. From then, there's a subsequent application called a site plan review that would be required to be reviewed and approved for the proposed use of the site.
Okay, well, that's reassuring because some of my constituents are still angry at losing a really historic building and have questions about this development. So I'm hoping they're listening to the meeting tonight, and I hope they hear that. Thank you.
Bill? Oh, Bill, did you?
Turn on your mic, Bill.
Sorry about that. I'll make a motion to adopt the staff findings as written.
Second.
Okay, me too.
Okay, motion's been made in a second. Any discussion, Dick?
Yeah, I'll have to say, somebody in the future is going to look at the original staff report, and then they're going to look at what we're doing tonight, and they're going to scratch their heads and say, what did they think they're doing there? But that'll be sometime in the future.
Okay, anyone else? Motion's been made in a second, and all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried 5-1. All right. Okay, and next is business from the council, and let me start on the bottom here is Mike.
I have nothing at this time.
Okay, Bill,
Nothing, thank you.
Dick,
Nothing.
and let me find you over here, Alex,
I got nothing.
and Rich.
Nothing.
Did I get it? Nope, I'm missing.
Nothing.
Bessie go. Oh, Bessie was on the main screen. Where'd you go, Bessie? Oh, there you
I'm
are.
up on the, I'm up on the top left on mine.
Okay.
Yeah. It's been kind of a hard week for us and stuff. I think I mentioned something about computer hacking last week. Well, even my phone got hacked. It was just the strangest thing. Even Verizon says they've never seen this before, but somebody actually an e-gift to somebody in Kansas City. It's the weirdest thing. But anyway, so just be aware of that. It's just amazing what these people can do.
Oh gosh.
Yeah,
Wow.
it really is. So I'm looking forward to a better week next week. But other than that, I'm good.
Good. Okay, did I get everyone? And then the only thing I was going to bring up is in the mail today, we got a letter from Morocco, and they are going to be laying off 75 employees.
Ooh.
And let's see, it says this letter is being issued in accordance with the Worker Adjustment and Retraining Notification Act in order to notify you that Arauco North America is partially closing its particle board operations located in Albany. The anticipated effective date of this partial closure is July 6th, which was a couple days ago. This partial closure will result in the layoff of approximately 75 employees. Attached is a preliminary roster. Arauco North America is not part of a union and employees do not have union representation. This partial closure is the result of an economic imbalance in the U.S. particle board market, coupled with the economic impacts of COVID-19. The ATLF facility on Calapooya Street and one line of production at the particle board plant has been on temporary curtailment effective July 6, 2020. This will transition to a permanent curtailment. All affected employees have been notified on that. So, not great news. I had heard from kind of a little bird on a wire that they were building a new plant in another state somewhere, that this was coming, so I wasn't quite surprised, but hate to see that. Those are good paying jobs. It's actually it's actually in Millersburg, city of Millersburg. So is that plant, except for the Calapooya one. But,
Mayor?
Uh-huh.
A lot of what they have, because they're using byproducts,
Mm-hmm.
and the forest industry is who feeds them. And if they're not getting enough sawdust, enough fiber, in the right kind of price, that's what kills them. I mean, you know, they got a double whammy. The forest industry is down in a lot of areas, and then of course building has got some issues too. So it's not that they like another state more; it's that they have a market to get the product better.
Well, the plant has already been being built, so this was kind of a plan before this even came forward. But yeah, which is really disappointing. But hopefully somebody else, you know, if they do close up, somebody else will go in there, as it used to be called Duraflake. So has changed hands over the years.
Okay.
Hopefully be able to keep it alive. But
yeah,
that's it that I had. And Peter.
Yes, Mayor. Good evening, councilors. I'm going to ask for your indulgence here for a couple more minutes, and I apologize for walking things in late. We don't like to do that, but there are some urgent things that we need to get council to take some action on. There are three things, and they should be three pretty easy things. The first one is the loan documents that will allow us to support ADA, AVA, and our own economic development program, as we've talked about last time. The second thing will be the memorandum of agreement to set up with Republic for trash service. And then the third one, we'll have Seth talk about some additional funds that we would like the council to accept. So I'll turn it over to Jorge at this point for the first two.
Okay, thank you, Peter. I want to go ahead and share my screen to just provide some context on the loan information. On June 24th, last council meeting, we shared with the council that the details of at a high level of a loan that would be made of $118,000 from the PepsiCo Economic Opportunity Fund into the Economic Development Fund to fund these items that we have here, which is 3 months of wages and salaries and what we call materials and services for ADA, AVA, and the city. So that total 118. And I mentioned that we had an option to go as long as 10 years on this. at a rate of between 1 and 1.5%. If I look at the option that we have that I shared in the staff memo, we have, if you would like to go with 10 years, the yearly payment starting next July at a 1.3%. I just selected the number in the middle between 1.0 and 1.5, $12,676 a year. If the council would like to go with the 5-year repayment terms, it would be $24,561 a year, starting again in July of 2021. Here is the resolution that I shared with you in the email earlier today, and I don't have the repaid fiscal year because I need to get guidance from the council whether you want to go with option 1, which is 10-year, or option 2, which is 5 years. And I'll stop just to get some guidance there, and then we'll continue with the item.
Okay, Bessie?
Jorge, do the organizations have any preference?
Doesn't make any difference.
It's a council decision.
It's up to us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and I know.
I haven't heard any preference. We didn't get
Okay,
any
thank you.
comments on that.
All right, that's fine.
Now,
So I support the 10-year agreement. We're all having to deal with this going forward. We don't know how long this will last. I think 10 years is equitable and fair. I think 10 years is fine.
Okay.
I think we could probably start out with 10 and then even revisit it. You know, if all of a sudden we get a big boom and a lot more TLT, then maybe we can look at, you know, shortening that term. But right now it's probably best to be on the conservative side of being able to keep, you know, what funds we have to stay afloat on that.
That's great.
So we would need approval of the resolution on that to go with the 10-year, and then we'll just populate the.
I would move that we go with the 10-year plan.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion's been made, second, and it could be for 10-year plan for being able to have a loan borrowed off the Economic Opportunity Fund. So, okay, and any discussion? Okay, if all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carried 6-0. And Jorge, next.
Yeah, Mayor, the second item is just the MOU that was included also in the email, which is accepting the donation from Republic Services to the city and authorizing Peter to sign that MOU.
I move to approve.
Second.
All right, motion's been made and a second. And any discussion, which is just such a wonderful donation. So
Yeah.
help solve a problem right now. So, okay. All those in favor say aye.
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 All right.
Opposed, same sign. All right, carried. Okay,
you.
Great.
you bet. Thank you. Anything
Yes.
else?
Yes, now to Seth to talk a little bit about regarding the acceptance of additional funds for our small business loan program.
Okay, Seth?
Evening, Mayor and councilors. I'm going to stay on this free money train for a minute, and it's a bright spot, I would hope, for you all. But just to give you a little background here, we were awarded, the city was awarded $45,000 from Business Oregon to be extended as small business grants for those affected by the COVID-19 crisis. And I just want to give you a quick background because we're going to be talking about this more in the future. I anticipate more money coming down the line. Per the e-board at the state level's direction, Business Oregon was directed to use about $5 million of the state's money and come up with another 5 of their own from other programmings to make it available for small business support grants, particularly targeting sole proprietors or businesses that are owned by sole proprietors and those who have been historically underserved, and specifically those who didn't receive any federal assistance or haven't up to this point related to the COVID-19 crisis. So with that in mind, they announced three rounds. Let's see if I can get my numbers straight here. 3 rounds of monies that they would be putting into the state, and they all had somewhat different, not purposes, but manners in which they were going to administer the money. So the first one was designed to go to cities who had already put some skin in the game and had stood up some type of emergency relief fund, albeit grants or loans. So because you chose to capitalize a small business relief fund to the tune of $200,000, we could request up to a 1-to-1 match from the state in grant dollars to match what we'd already done. Now, in actual fact, in addition to the $200,000 that we initially stood up, there was another $200,000 from CDBG money that's been committed towards a similar use, albeit a somewhat different business ownership category. And because of that, we could request up to $400,000 in match. Now, you might have guessed this was highly oversubscribed statewide from the money that was actually made available in round 1. And I don't want to call it a pittance, but $45,000 was not anywhere near what we were able to request and match. Now, I want to just tell you that round 2 was went out to what we call CDFIs and other similar organizations around the state. These are community development finance institutions who work in the space of non-traditional financing. You might recall Community Lending Works, which was the entity that we used to administer our first round of loans, is a CDFI. We worked with them for many years before this crisis hit and anticipate doing that afterwards. They've been a great partner in financing projects for our small business community. So they were awarded on our behalf, it's a little bit strange, but $25,000 for the city of Albany, which we can now combine with the other 45 that the request is this evening that you accept. And then there's going to be a round 3 that actually closes on Friday, and I'm submitting another request for this where we could ask for the balance of our money that was put forward already as match, less the $70,000 that has been received, right? Or excuse me, $45,000 that have been awarded already. So that's what, $355,000 we can ask for a match for this round 3, and I'll submit for that tomorrow, and we'll know hopefully within a week or 2. At this point, though, business organs requesting a formal acceptance of this grant money, which is coming in the form of a forgivable loan to the city. The city will turn around and still use Community Lending Works to administer these grant dollars. And so long as it goes to the correct types of businesses, which they'll be screening for, then there's shouldn't be any issues with forgiveness, and it becomes a grant at that point. And we've got all the reporting documentation needed to do that. So anyhow, the request is this evening, if you'd like to accept $45,000 of money we can directly pass on in small, they're really small grants, like $2,500 a pop, to businesses that had 25 employees or less, have not received any federal money as of yet, are sole proprietors, are owned by historically disadvantaged populations or individuals. That's the target here. And just so you know, we worked really hard to acquire the money. It was a difficult process, but B, to make sure that this goes out to everybody as best we can in multiple languages. It will be the acceptance and underwriting process will be available in Spanish as well as English and other languages if necessary. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Okay, any questions of staff?
Yeah. Seth, this is Bessie. I just want to thank you for keeping on top of this. I know it's a lot of work, a lot of paperwork, and I'm sure that $2,500 is $2,500. It's just anything that we can do to help right now, I think is going to be appreciated. But I want to thank you and your staff for really keeping on top of it and going the extra mile. Thanks.
Thanks, Bessie. Appreciate that.
Okay. So you'll need to make a motion to formally accept the grant money for the forgivable loan program.
I would so move.
Second.
Okay, it's been made in a second. Any more discussion?
Mayor, you
Exactly.
probably just had a slip of words there, but these will be grants specifically, not loans, in this portion. So we're using the state's money to extend grants. Yeah, although we're kind of using the same format and program as the loan program from earlier. That's correct.
Okay, great. All right. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carried. All right. Is that it, Seth?
That's it for me.
All right.
Good job.
Else?
Thank you for the extra time, Mayor. I have nothing else.
Okay. All right. Does any other staff have anything this evening?
No, Mayor.
Okay.
Oh, thank you.
With that, then our next meeting will be work session on July 20th and regular sessions July 22nd. We do have Kara still next week, don't we?
Yes.
Not off. Or is it?
Yes, we do.
We do. All right. Great.
What day is that?
Yep. With that,
Oh,
Wednesday, Mike.
Is Kara a virtual meeting?
we have Kara next week.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And
What
it's a
day?
TV meeting?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
this. Go to-
Yeah.
Okay.
What
Sounds good.
day?
Okay. With that,
Oh,
we're
the day?
What day?
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
No, the day numbers.
yeah.
The
Next
15th?
15th.
Yeah.
15.
5
Thank you.
o'clock?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Next Wednesday, 5:15. Okay. All right. Thank
All
you.
right.
Good night,
Have a
everybody.
good week, everybody.
This conference is no